I had found Away for the Day online and thought it was intriguing and read through research and the posters and things like that. And I thought that this could be a good thing for us.
Hello, I'm Delaney Rustin, primary care physician, creator of the 4 Screenagers movies, and this is the Screenagers podcast, a show about discovering the best ways to help our youth and ourselves navigate our rapidly changing digital world. Some of you know about Away for the Day. Back in 2017, my Screenagers film and movement partner, Lisa Tabb, and I, with the help of others on our team, started the campaign Away for the Day to have schools be phone-free, and now that includes smartwatches as well. Away for the Day is centered on the website awayfortheday.org, which is chock full of helpful things like best practices, toolkits, testimonials, and data on why these policies help students emotionally, academically, and socially. We're thrilled that we have heard from many, many parents, counselors, teachers, principals, superintendents on how our campaign and all these resources have helped to create change in their schools over the past 7+ years. And the movement is growing big time. Already 14 states have either passed legislation in support of Away for the Day or are in the midst of passing legislation. Unfortunately, though, many of these bills are directed specifically at academic time only and don't address breaks and lunch. Another issue is that schools may say they have a policy that phones get kept away during class time, but students often still have access to their phones. They maybe are supposed to keep them in their lockers or their backpacks, but then they keep it on themselves, or in some instances, they're just allowed to keep them wherever they want to. And this is a problem because the temptation to look at their devices is just seriously still maintained. I mean, it's not easy for students to resist the pull. It's not easy for any of us. Wouldn't it be better if devices were locked up safely for the full day? Each of the 4 Screenagers films addresses the issue of phones in schools. And in the recently released Screenagers Elementary School Age Edition, the idea of specific lockers for cell phones is even brought up. Well, today I'm jazzed to talk with a high school principal who just helped to change her school to Away for the Day just this January 2025. We're talking mid-school year. Now, they did not go to phones locked away for the entire day, but they are doing the next best thing. Phones are locked away all day except for lunchtime. Why make the change? Well, prior to January, teachers were asked to collect phones and put them into baskets in the front of the classroom for the class period, and then students got their phones back at the end of the period. Each teacher was to do this, but not all the teachers did. And this is a common problem. A lot of high schools, for example, have used these plastic hanging shoe holders for phones, but then some of the teachers don't do it, and then it makes it that much harder for the teachers who are trying to enforce the rule. So today we're going to learn about this high school that just recently made a big change.
So I'm Deanna Albert. I'm the principal at Hardin High School in Hardin, Montana. We're located south central Montana, right between Billings and the Wyoming line. We have a school of about 500 students, 9 through 12, and we had a major issue with phones in the classroom. We couldn't go into a classroom without seeing kids on phones, and they were watching videos, they were watching movies, they were playing games rather than listening to instruction. One day, a kid was watching a horse sale. He was looking to buy a horse. So he was trying to buy a horse during class. It was right on YouTube. And so this was one of the steps that we took in order to get kids more engaged in the instruction going on in the classroom. I had found Away for the Day online and thought it was intriguing and read through research and the posters and things like that. And I thought that this could be a good thing for us. Not making kids feel like it's a punishment that they can't have their phones, but there's real reasons that students shouldn't have their phones in school.
How did you start that process?
It did start at the beginning of the year, the frustration, I should say. Our superintendent wanted some parent input into it, student input into it. And so I created a parent advisory committee And we met at least once a month and just looking at options of what we could do, what would be fair and simple and not be an extra burden on the teachers to be able to do. In the past, we had allowed students to turn their phone in every class period, but they would have them in the halls and passing time and whatnot. Then every single period, it was a fight to get kids to put their phones away. And so when I started meeting with parents, they were like, just take the phones away. We'd like to. But it's harder than it sounds. Kids are very territorial over their phones. They just have to have them all the time. And as we were talking about this in the Parent Advisory Committee, I showed them the Away for the Day process and what it involved. And then the Screenagers, we watched a video in there during one of our meetings. So we came up with a plan that would be implemented for second semester this school year. And I had them help me with some of the wording so parents would understand why we're doing this, what it would sound like. And before we started, I did post, this is a big change coming to Hardin High School, second semester, and talked about the new phone policy. Kids come in, they turn them into their first period teacher in a basket. The teacher meets them at the door with a basket. They just put their phone in there. Once all the kids are in the classroom, the teacher then locks up the phone basket, whether it's in a file cabinet or desk or some other kind of cabinet in their room. Kids are fine with locking them up. I think they feel safer, honestly, with them being locked in a cupboard or a cabinet of some kind, rather than just having them sit on the teacher's desk. And then the kids don't get them back until the end of fourth period. Some kids just leave it there. They don't even pick it up until the end of the day. And they do have to go back to first period to get them, but that hasn't been an issue. And any students that are tardy to school, turn them into the front office. They don't even take them to their class. They just turn them in there and can pick them up at lunchtime on their way out the door. We have an open campus, so we couldn't really keep their phones during that time because most of our kids leave campus for lunch. When they come back from lunch, they go to their fifth period class and they again turn their phones into the basket and they get locked up again. And then they don't get their phones back until the end of seventh period. We haven't added any time to anything or taken time away from classes. When the bell rings, they can go get their phone.
Did anyone talk about it being gone for the whole day in high school? Because there are private schools and public go away fully for the whole day. And we used to do that, open campus. You would not have a phone. But how did you guys decide that was completely off the table to not withhold the phone during lunch?
It was mostly a conversation between myself and our superintendent. We just made that decision. He felt like it was a safety concern. When they get in their cars and they drive away, if something were to happen, they wouldn't have their phones with them to make a call for help or whatever they might need.
And I'm curious about so many things, but big picture, what is going well and what's been tricky? Let's just say what's going right now.
So we don't walk into classrooms and see phones anymore, not even one. And if we do, then we take it. And so we set up a level of consequences if they're going to continue to do it. First one's a warning, and they get their phone back at the end of the day. And if they just refuse, it's more of a defiance thing than it is a phone issue. And so that's how we treat it.
And it's not shaming them. It's working with them.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yep.
And trying to get them to want to be in
and
school.
And they all know. We do reminders every day. Reminder, put your phone or electronics in the basket first period and fifth period.
What happens if it's a second time that's happened?
So we take it away and a parent has to come get it. So then we can have a conversation with the parent. We've only had a handful of kids that have gone to that second level. So I think that's pretty good considering we have 500 kids in the high school. And I also am holding teachers accountable as well. Because if you have one teacher that does not follow through, then the whole plan is shot. So when I wrote up consequences for students, I also in the same procedure, wrote up consequences for teachers that would not uphold the cell phone policy. And I haven't had to talk to anybody yet about it. They know that there could be consequences for them too if they don't.
Right. I mean, it's truly a policy of the school.
Yes.
How's the reaction been from teachers in this past 5 weeks?
Way better than expected. Because it's hard work when kids get mad, but they've stuck to it. They've held to our policy, and phones just aren't an issue in their classrooms anymore. And they can't believe how much more instructional time they have and how much kids are actually communicating with each other in the classroom or with the teacher. We see it in the hallway as well. There are groups of kids walking together and talking to each other. It's funny because at lunch, when they get their phones back, you can see every kid, their nose is right back in their phone. After school, the phone's right back in their face. But when they don't have it, they're having conversations with friends. They're laughing in the hallway. The bully, whoever that might be, doesn't have access to them now like they did before. I don't know that we've even had a Snapchat complaint yet.
Can you speak a little bit more when you say Snapchat complaint? What does happen, what you've heard through the counselor's office? And they come to you, the principal, of course, about these issues too.
Absolutely. Social media in general. My thing I say all the time is social media is going to be the death of us, because we have kids that take pictures in classrooms and then post them saying something about someone they don't like, or they take really unflattering pictures and then they edit it and put it on social media. Snapchat is the worst, really, though, because they just feel like it's gone in 10 seconds or whatever, even though you can screenshot it so it's there forever. We've had some legal issues with Snapchat as well. And so we've just had to get it out of their hands during school time.
Are you saying legal in terms of inappropriate videos or images being shared?
Yes. And charges, there's been charges. It's almost like nothing is off limits anymore.
Yeah.
And just had a big issue with a Snapchat and one of our sports teams, and it shut us down for a day to figure everything out. And once other schools in Montana heard about what we had went through, they immediately met to get some policy in place for things like that. We were the first ones to really deal with this big of a situation, and it happened before we started this policy. And second semester, kids can't take their phones into locker rooms anymore. Coaches collect them before they go either on the bus or in the locker room, so they don't have access to their phones there anymore. And so other schools in the state have heard what happened and have modified their policies so that they're ready when something like this happens, because it will. It's kids. Mm-hmm. It'll happen.
2 questions I have. Have you seen now students coming more to the main office to
Yes.
call if they forgot something? And is there more interaction in
Yes.
a positive way? Or
Yes.
how's that going?
Every day I see kids using the school office phone, and they get a pass from their teacher, come down. Everything is done the way that it should be now. Yeah.
And are you getting to know more students that way a little bit as a principal?
Yes, especially freshmen. They're my hard group to learn who they are. So I am getting to know them that way as well. Yeah.
Before, during the break times, what percentage of the students, these high school students, were looking at their phone in that 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever it is, 6 minutes to get to the other period?
I would say 80 to 85%. It was uncommon to see kids without a phone or their earbuds in. They just wear their earbuds all day long. And that doesn't just interfere with schoolwork or instruction. It's a safety concern. I always try to greet kids in the hallways. I can't tell you how many times kids don't hear me because they have their earbuds in. If something comes over the loudspeaker, they don't hear that either. It does really become a safety issue with the earbuds or headphones on.
So now, did you put explicitly that those can't be used? And we should say smartwatches too. You said no earphones anymore. Is that right?
Yep. No smartwatches. And we pretty much said electronics.
What about smartwatches?
Yep, they go in the basket as well.
It's great to hear how well implementing away for the day policies has been going for Hardin High School and how they work to make it their own. An element of that success was sharing research with students. One way they did that was by having the students watch Screenagers growing up in the digital age.
They did that in their academic advising class, so that we have a 25-minute period where they go in and meet with their academic advising teacher, and that's where they're also going to do some of the lessons with it. And this Friday, when we have our staff meeting, I'm going to actually show them the website so teachers can get on there and use those tools as well. Everybody's just really on board with it. That we rounded that corner, we made it through it, and we can just keep going now.
Wow. Not only keep going, but using this platform, a podcast, media
Yes.
for good intentions, to share your experiences.
Correct.
And get this to more parents, teachers, students, everyone who listens. So we're so happy that you came on the show with us.
Thank you. Yes. It's certainly more fun to go to work now and not having to argue with kids that are on their phone all day long.
We so love being able to share stories of schools that have adopted away for the day policies. And what we hear from schools all over the country is that they have been so pleased in the way that having screenings with their parents, teachers, staff, and students of the Screenagers films gets people more on board on why making changes is so important and how to do it. If you're a parent, teacher, counselor, principal, student, social worker, superintendent, coach, anyone who would like to learn more about the nuts and bolts of implementing effective policies, get answers to common myths, find the latest research, posters, and much more, visit awayfortheday.org. And at screenagersmovie.com, you can learn about using our films to inspire greater community awareness and desire of making policy changes. I want to graciously thank Principal Deanna Albert for taking the time to talk with me today. And if you have an Away for the Day story you want to share, please email me at Delaney@screenagersmovie.com. What a gift that you chose to tune into the show today. The Screenagers movement is all about doing this work together. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast to get each episode automatically. And the more subscribers, the easier it is for others to find us. And if you give it some stars, that helps even more. Check out Screenagersmovie.com to get resources for each episode, to learn about our 4 Screenagers movies, and to find my weekly parenting blog, Tech Talk Tuesdays. Curious about a specific topic? Use the search bar to get answers from our many blogs and podcast episodes. Finally, I love hearing from you, so email me at Delaney@screenagersmovie.com. What ideas do you have for future episodes? Today's show was produced by the following people: me, your host, Delaney Reston, Lisa Tabb, Rebecca Tolan, and Robbie Carver.